Hello, my name is Richard Wilson, and I've been asked by the Heritage Trust Network and Historic Churches Scotland to give you a quick presentation on our journey at Netherton Church, which was acquired from the Church of Scotland in 2011. So this is a short presentation, which I hope will take no more than 20 minutes. In terms of background, Netherton sits in rural North Perthshire in the Highlands, and here is Netherton just being circled by my cursor. And to the south, we have Blairgowrie here. To the north, we have the A93, the Snow Road, up to Glenshee and over into Deeside. And also to our north is the Cairngorm National Park. And if one likes gin and vodka, there's a very good distillery called Perthshire Distillery nearby. Netherton itself is a dwelling of 6 dwellings. This is an overview of Netherton here. And Bridget-Cally, which is about a mile away, is a village of 41 dwellings. And the church building itself was constructed in 1899. It's Grade C listed, as is most of Netherton itself. And the church building seats 120 people very comfortably. And here's just a couple of 4 photographs for you. Just on top left is the building itself. Top right here is the graveyard, where I do have members of my own family buried there. And then down here is a war memorial to the First World War and then to the Second World War. And our only casualty listed is Flight Sergeant James Kay, who came from Netherton. And here's a building which is separate, with its separate door into the session room. And just a quick look inside the building. So here's a lovely sort of pulpit area. Then looking down from the south to the pulpit, and also then looking for the pulpit looking the other way. And this is the session room recently converted, so with new points put in there and some new lighting. It's worth mentioning that when the church went on the market, the particulars made very clear that the Church of Scotland was very prepared to take out all the church furniture and war memorial plaques and everything that would give an indication the building was a church, which to my mind was a desecration of the building and made me even more convinced that we needed to do something. Moving to our next slide is the acquisition, and a very good question is why? Why on earth buy a church? I have to say it was not in my game plan at any stage. But I can answer that question. Firstly, the Church of Scotland were well within their rights to put the property on the market. Myself and my family, we've had very strong associations with the area over the last 4 generations. And as I've mentioned earlier, we've got members of my family interred in the graveyard. So there's a strong emotional pull, if you like. Moreover, there are lots and lots of people locally who've had important events in their lives take place at Netherton Church, whether it's christening, weddings, Thanksgivings, funerals, Sunday school. There's a lot of people who've Netherton's played an important role for them. And the building itself, and here's a good shot of it just in here, is really the symbolic heart of this little hamlet. So when it came on the market, it was a very sad moment. And it wasn't just me who felt uneasy about it, but there was a lot of people around about who were very somber indeed about it. And I just felt myself, was there a better way? And whilst I was emotional about it, I felt that if we're wise and clever, if I could acquire the building, could we try and craft the building for everyone to use and do it in a better way and use and cherish it? And I have been asked the question, and I will answer it. Where did I get the money? Well, the straight answer is I borrowed it. And we didn't have much time. This was a sort of 6-week process and it went to sealed bids. But that's the answer to that particular question. So what were our key steps once we secured the building and managed to purchase it? Well, the first one was just to make sure the building was, if you like, secure, wind and watertight. And so we did some immediate repairs to the roof, not significant. The building was more or less good nick, but roof gully repairs, new roof ridge, and just a quick check over of pointing. When that was achieved, the other key step was when bearing in mind utility and use and getting the building into operation for the community. Well, it was essential. We had to have a WC. And so we installed a WC, some more heavy lifting financially, but an absolute fundamental thing to do. So we installed that. We managed, and I then started to learn about organisations such as SSE, who've got Drumdog Wind Farm nearby, and how they very charitably have community grants, micro grants up to £500. And I capitalised on one of those to fund our first service, Christmas event, which was enormously helpful. So there was no upfront cost. So that was my first key step, was getting grant support for a community event, and it's doable. Suddenly, you could see we could make progress here. I make reference to this point down here, Perth and Kinross and non-domestic rates relief. It may be obvious, but it wasn't to me. But they give you rates relief on a church building, and that's all of a sudden, you don't have to worry about that fixed cost. So getting that locked in was good. The next key step was taking stock of what else we needed to bring forward utility of the building. And I felt, having talked about it with various people, Alison Fraser, who lives next door, and various other people, that whilst we had a harmonium, which we inherited in the church, that wasn't going to do really what we needed. We needed an instrument, a musical instrument that could straddle all sorts of genres of music in one bit of equipment. And we landed on the Yamaha Clavinova as the instrument. And we researched all this, but Yamaha Clavinova came up as the instrument. And it's expensive and it's very good. But we acquired a Yamaha digital piano. And again, I applied for grant support from SSE, and they helped me with a significant proportion of the cost, which is hugely appreciated. That's now in situ in the church. That's been a step change in how we orchestrate our musical delivery in the building. The other key step is establishing a formal constitution. So instead of just me and my wife, Claire, we now have set up a not-for-profit constitution, a recognised committee. It's called the Netherton Church Building Community Group. And there is on there as a committee of myself as chairman, a secretary, treasurer, and 2 other members who are, each contributes, and we're a great little team, and it's working very well for us. And it's the other benefit is it's not just me doing stuff, it's taking soundings from other people who've got also very good ideas, and we operate as a team, and it's a very rewarding experience, and I would wholeheartedly recommend that. The other key step down here was internet. Again, bearing in mind utility, and we all know the importance of digital in today's world, was the installation or the plumbing of internet into the building, which BT duly did. And then in due course, we had fibre come into the area, and it's getting that into the building as well. So we're in a good place in terms of digital. That then lent itself very well to this next piece down here, which was the session room and creating an office facility, which we now have done, where we converted or upgraded, I should say, the session room with insulation, new lighting and electrical points, together with the internet facility, we could go to market, I could go to market and offer out a small office facility. And I'm pleased to say we managed to let that under license to a company called Brunel Vision. And then finally, fire regulations. But once we moved into these different spaces, we had to embrace different fire regulations, none of them unreasonable, but we had to spend money on that as well. So those were sort of the key steps along the way. In terms of use of the building and the cherishing the building, just a couple of points here for you as well. Our first event was a Christmas carol service, which I mentioned earlier. And that was a sort of toe in the water. Can we, and a good theme, Christmas carols. And as mentioned earlier, I had my micro grant from the SSE, which was hugely beneficial, funding printing costs, funding an organist, funding teas and coffees at the end of the service, because people come together, let's all then have tea and cake and enjoy each other's company at the end of it. And this event went off, the first one we did, and the church, we had 80 people attend, and it was great. It was a real triumph, and that was our first peg in the ground that says we can do this. There was an indication that we can do this, and people were generally wanting another event. We've used the building. We've done I'd say 4 weddings now. All of them been very successful. It's very good revenue for us, but we're finding our feet in that area. But we think that's something else that we need to focus on going forward. We've also done another themed event, with this time with the World War II tribute service, which themed around the Second World War. What I'd say about this is you need plenty of time to plan and to do and deliver up a quality event. This was attended by over 120 people. We had to have extra seating. We raised money for the RAF Benevolent Fund, and the connection to that was our Second World War casualty, James Kay, was killed in Bomber Command in 1943. So we wanted to pay tribute to his memory. And so we raised money for the Bomber Command Memorial and the maintenance of it in London. That was a terrific event, and that indicated with good planning you can make great strides. We've set up Singing for Fun, which is our community singing. And like many church buildings, one thing they all have, I think, is acoustics. They're built for sound, they're built for people. And so the logical thing was, could we set up a singing group? And we have. And it started off with a nucleus of 15 people who said, yes, we're interested. We then realized we need a professional choir leader to help us on our way and keep us in trim. And that's Colleen Nichol, and she's amazing. And we got a burgeoning, developing community choir. It's been thwarted somewhat with COVID, but we carried on online. And I'm convinced that when we come out of COVID, that we will all get back together and we'll carry on singing, and hopefully the choir will build. But it's had a tangible effect in the community. Not that you can see it too easily, but there's some nice little quotations in here. This was in reference to the singing, but the one here at the bottom is a nice one. It just says, "This is too good to stop." And I clocked that, and it's a lovely quote. Finally, down the bottom here, I make reference to the office and Brunel Vision. This is now, we have the church is in daily use by a company that's relocated from Dundee to Netherton. And I'm just thrilled we got the building used on a daily basis, and it's proving a very good solution for Brunel Vision as well. And so far it's working extremely well for both parties. Here's a quick montage for you. Top left up here is our World War II tribute service. top right is a rather lovely shot of the church last year at the Christmas concert. Here's our singing group, bottom left, and here we are in our carol service again last year with Andy the organist, looking extremely festive. And then what are the challenges? Well, as ever, there's no shortage of challenges in this sort of project. The one I would identify for those stepping out on this sort of journey, and it's a good journey, but what I would sort of identify it's when seeking grant support is there are a number of grant organisations that have a policy of not giving any type of grant support to organisations that have any type of faith or a faith setting. And we've run into that. But that's just something to be aware of. So I point that out as one particular challenge. The other one is building maintenance. It sounds obvious, but one just has to keep on top of that one. Insurance has been a source of deliberation. It's a significant cost. It's a fixed cost. You have to do it. And it's a big chunk of the overhead. And where you can get a good policy, well, stay with it. But it needs a bit of researching. But that's been a learning. And overall finance, this last item here, it's important. We've got a very good treasurer, and it's very important just to making sure our numbers and our overheads are low, and we're keeping a firm handle on the money side, because money is not plentiful in this type of scenario. And then finally, our future. Well, first of all, our vision is long term. There's nothing in here that's short term. This is for very much the next generation and beyond. But in the near future, what we want to do is create a website and really market maybe the building for weddings. Because we got good acoustics, we feel there is a strong rationale to maybe hold concerts and recitals. And that's something we're going to look at. This is vital, a place for all. That's now out there in the community. I think people know that this building is there for everybody, but it is. And we will continue to convey that message. We're looking at charitable status. Do we need, it's a question really at this stage, do we need to change from being a community group to a small charity? What are the benefits of it? And we haven't landed on any conclusion at this stage, but we've started looking at that. And then finally, maintenance. Well, that's an ongoing journey, and we're on that every year now, doing whatever we need to do on the church building to keep it in good condition, which is very important. So those are the sort of key challenges looking ahead. Thank you very much indeed for listening. I hope that's been useful, and all good luck to you in your ventures going forward. Thank you.